preparing for live stream, setting it up. All right. Okay. Hello, everybody. Seth here, and I am really feeling so much happiness right now because we have created a reunion of something that many of the men that are on this call used to do. I don't know, we did 15, 20 episodes together, maybe something. It was a lot. There was a lot of the Divine Masculine Roundtable. And we started it a year and a half ago, and we were doing them really consistently up until things started kind of getting a little bit hectic for a few of us, and then all of us. And we've let this kind of grace period pass of like, okay, get knocked off our feet, go through what we're going through, and then find the ability to develop buoyant resiliency, which is kind of the name of the game, you could say, right? Rising above that which seeks to oppress us or hold us back. And often it's in us. It's our own internal processes or fears or resistance that prevents or enables us to move forward in a way that is holistic and connected to our potential and all that. So I don't remember the last time we did an episode, but we have pretty much all the original founding members that were doing it together here right now. And the other thing that's really great about this is it's the first time we've ever done it live.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Pretty amazing.
So anyhow, for everybody watching, this is the Divine Masculine Roundtable. These are the most beautiful men I've ever known. And we represent men, but we don't hide our feelings. We don't hide our vulnerabilities. We talk about everything. We allow each other the space to feel openly, deeply, and we help others to go through similar things that without having to feel like they're alone or hiding or any of that. So I love you guys, and thank you for everybody watching. And yeah, let's get into some beautiful, deep stuff.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you, Seth. Thank you for that incredible introduction. Guys, I've missed all of you. I've been thinking about all of you respectively. Welcome to Harry as a new member as well. Welcome to everybody watching live right now. You know, when we last dropped off, I think we have about 23 episodes on YouTube right now. 2 are yet to be published, but I know towards the end, as everything was becoming unraveled, you know, we all collectively felt the energy as things were chaotic, let's say that. Not sure what we were all going to step into, but we all stepped into something. And then we all separated. It felt right for me at the time to say, you know what, we all need a break right now because we're going through something. And we all immersed ourselves in, I'm assuming myself, is a much deeper experience in integrating into my essence, let's say. Love to hear what was going on for you guys. Love to see and share any experience that'd be pertinent to bring forward. And, you know, the fact that we're here now in this time moment, you know, the fact that we all made that timeline jump here now speaks volumes in itself. So who wants to go next?
Let me say something really quick because I'm just keeping an eye on the comments and people that are joining in and watching. And can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, perfect. So people are asking who we are. So maybe just a little introduction, just so that way, I mean, our names are on the bottom of the Zoom screen, but just so, because there's a lot of new people who are going to be like, who are these guys, you know?
Well, you know, it's an interesting question. Who are we? Yeah. You know, if we reflect that back, why is that so important of who we are? Do we bring our pedigree in? Do we bring our history? Do we bring our value? Do we bring our titles in? I mean, everything within this 3D world matrix has something that is of value to someone. So my invitation to someone to say who we are is, Well, take a listen, take a look, and then you'll find out who we really are.
Oh, what a beautiful response. Yes. Let's roll with that.
I feel resonant with that response as well, Azizus. Thank you, in the sense that coming onto this call and seeing each one of you, I don't feel like I need to know anything about any of you to be, as a means of gatekeeping my choice to show up in presence with you and in allyship and brotherhood with you. To me, there's, just by virtue of us being here, we are facets of this one thing. And for me personally, this definition of who I am has changed so dramatically over the last 18 months that I could go back to find that prior past definition, but I feel like we're moving into a time of such immediacy and also a time when our radical presence is actually going to be our ultimate navigator and compass through that. I'm way more interested with whatever might reveal itself from any one of you in this moment, rather than anything you've ever done or ever said or ever been before, especially because in this moment, as we're all here, who knows what the alchemy is going to be of these 8 people? What if this energy births something from any one of you that you would never have defined yourself from before? So by virtue of just being wide open to that possibility, I feel like I'm more in a place of being able to, frankly, be less manipulative for myself. Like, if I don't have to worry about thinking about what I have to present to you that's consistent with anything that I've done that's come before, and I can be free to just allow for whatever might flow, that I've learned in very recent times that I'm actually really afraid of men. I've been afraid of the judgment of men. I've been afraid of the abandonment by men, and I want to take this opportunity right now to not. If I knew things about you, I could imagine myself wanting to manipulate how I show up in order to curry your approval or your favor. What's the more edgy for me right now is to just go, I'm just here, and I don't know if this is enough. I don't know if it's good enough. I don't know if you're going to like me or not, but at the very least, this is. I'm going to come here with no presupposition and no intent to show up into this interaction in any way, shaping it to some kind of end, which is to get you to like me, which I would have done in the past. So
Beautiful.
Thank you for your vulnerable share. That's perfect for the company you're in.
David, I think you're muted there, buddy.
Thank you. I would agree with that as well. It's great for this company. And yet the question came from somebody outside who is asking to know. And I think that's a legitimate question. If I were that person, I'd probably be, the question behind the question would be, why bother watching these guys at all? And so I think it's legitimate for us to say who we are or why we're here, why we've gathered here. I think that's a legitimate question. And I would say that I'm here as a father, a grandfather, a business person, and somebody who's been on a relatively fast spiritual path for 40 years. And my life experiences are something I love to share with other men.
Makana, you're sideways, brother. There you go.
He's helping to recalibrate the rest of the world right now.
Yeah.
I think it might be a good idea to kind of share a little bit of what everybody's united vision is, or what your united goal is, because we're all here for a reason, right? We all have a mission. We all have a purpose we're driving towards, whether it be in ourselves or with the collective. A lot of us have the same mindset. And so we're unified in our minds and in our hearts. So I think sharing a little bit about that might be a good idea. If not this just necessarily parade ourselves around, or, like Harry's saying, put ourselves on a platform or anybody else on a platform, but kind of say a little bit about who we are and why we're here. So I know for myself, just like many of you brothers, we're trying to spread more light on the planet. We're trying to awaken others to their own power, awaken and empower others in a way that is authentically them, without all the dogma or the manipulation or any of that other stuff that's going on in the world. And for myself, like my vision is really to unite humanity as much as possible on the whole. I want to see everybody we all want these things deep within us. And if we dig deep enough past the layers of our separation, our differences, we all have a united goal. The goal of everybody pretty much is they want peace. They want to live their lives well. They want to live in a sense of freedom. Nobody wants this BS that we're living in currently. And that's why the system is doing what it's doing. So it can break down. But to unite everybody on that place that's beyond the illusion. And when we can get there, I think then the planet will change as a whole, when we can get enough people on that same wavelength, on that same bandwidth, on that same little thread that unites us all. So if I tune into myself and go beyond what I think I want, right? Because the human mind, like the human experience, oh, I want this fancy car, I want this, that's not really the things that we really want. And when we go past that, it's what does my core want? What does my spirit want? What is my soul calling me towards? And when you do that for yourself and you do that for others, you'll find that we have a lot more in common from that place than anything else. And if we can all unite from there, no matter what your creed, your background, your religion, your personal preferences, no matter what those are, if we go past all that and get to that little place, then the whole planet will change. But we have to get there. And I think that's what we're really being called towards. And that's why everything that right now is breaking down. So that's my personal vision. That's my personal mission. And that's personally why I'm putting myself out there. And I'd like to hear from all you brothers too.
So David, I didn't mean to say that that question wasn't illegitimate. It from my respect, when people ask questions like that, there's always some sort of formulation and judgments placed on there. So in no way, shape, or form did I want to illegitimize the question. Really, for me, it's to dig deeper and to be patient with what's unfolding. I think both Harry and Brendan and yourself placed it amazing. It's everything that these gentlemen said. And the only thing that I would add is that collectively, I think we all represent a central point, a unification of men that are interested in supporting each other in that consciousness spectrum, and unpacking these things that are incredibly uncomfortable for men: vulnerability, emotions, things that we don't understand and have a hard time making sense of it. But through this circle, and if you look at the previous episodes, we have unpacked, discussed, and through that experience, it's allowed us to go deeper. This is what I think the 6 month, 7 month process is, to come back much fuller in what we're doing right now. So, no, my interest is exactly like Brendan, is to bring unity and love and compassion, and to spread more light. And through this process that's happening right now, empowering people, saying that this is an illusion. We'll get to that, but
I'd love to add to that. As far as it seems like everything that's happened in the world is bringing all of us as a species to a place where we're getting less out of who we think we are and more into what we are, by choosing to feel that which we we've either suppressed or pressed or haven't even been conscious of our ability to feel. And I know that many of us in here, we make an active practice of being embodied, you know, and everybody's good at external technology, right? There's a lot of that and there's a lot of focus on it, but there's all this internal technology that we as a species are beginning to realize that we can activate, that will allow us to live in this world in a way that's more connected to the it's almost like a root system of under a forest with mycelia and all the roots and trees and everything together. We are like that. But we haven't been living like that consciously because we've been focused on all kinds of other stuff. And now we've come to a point where we want to feel deeper. We want to connect deeper. We want to create relationships in and amongst each other and ourselves and the world that reflects the meaning, the deeper meaning of intimacy, which isn't sexual or it's not relationship based as far as this is my romantic partner. It's truly being intimate with the source of life pulsing through you and then forming relationships with others based upon this recognition that there's this great pulse happening through all of us. So that's what I love about this group, because you guys are all doing this in your own way and we all come together and share like that.
Beautiful. I would like
Aloha,
to
brothers.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ez. Go ahead.
Oh, well, thank you. And can you guys hear me okay? My internet seems to be the shoddiest one all the time. So
Yeah.
I just want to express my gratitude to be on here with you guys once again, and hopefully to have good internet. I appreciate everything that's been said. I thought that was incredible. Incredibly vulnerable and beautiful what Harry shared, what he would like to be shown. And I agree, a lot of times when we as men get together, even when we're doing the Around the Circle where we introduce ourselves and we check in the interim, when you're waiting to go, so many things start going in the mind. So it's like a serious thing to try to put yourself place to be present and to listen to, to allow what needs to come through as you in the moment. And so I was really listening that, tuning in. They want to know, who the fuck are these guys, right? So for what I would say is, at least for me, I'm someone in this journey who's wanting to continue to allow life to breathe through me and to witness that as whatever part of the whole consciousness that I am, and then support that in my witnessing, in the observing. And so without labeling myself anything other than life consciousness, witnessing consciousness, but we have an intention in this group for all of us to support a positive expansion. Yet we all know that everything exists here. So you have a group of men who have decided to work towards something, what we're labeling showing up authentic and sharing our experience and moving to see that, like my brother said, it isn't just about sex and groping per se, because that isn't all intimacy is, but getting to witness yourself in this journey, having space created with and to witness those who are in front of you, and then nature, solution of what divides us. So if I was to introduce myself, I would just say I'm a reflection of you, but with some different opinions, here to witness you and let you witness me. That's my introduction. And also just, I'm really grateful to be here with you guys and to see you, other reflections of my heart. Thank you, brothers.
Thank you, Ez. I would like just to, first of all, thank each and every one of you of being here, those that are watching, and just the sacred men that have come forward, because I see myself, as I see all of you, as leaders, as change makers, as way showers, as guides, as beings here that I feel within myself. When I look into you, I look back at that beautiful mirror that, as you just spoke about. And what's special about this group is I feel when we all come together, we activate this beautiful, sacred, divine masculine by speaking from our hearts, from sharing what comes through us and being as truly authentic, humbled, raw, and real as possible. And it's a gift that I feel that when we can come together, there's this unique spiraling activation that we feel within all of us that I feel we're very passionate to share in our unique gifts, because I know all of us are leaders of this change. Each of us have a story to share. Each of us have a pulse, has a chi, has a vibration that I feel can thrive and connect all of us together. And we're all passionate. I know I'm passionate, as all of you are passionate, to see what's coming forward in the uniqueness of what we are. And what that is to me is just being the fullest expression of our heart, of our source, of our light. And I feel all of us are on that path within unique stories, unique words, unique gifts, that as we come together, it becomes this thriving waterfall that we can all dip in and share with each other, connect with each other, and really lift the energy that I feel all of us are here to do, to be that fullest consciousness just by being us, that perfection of who we are. And it's a gift that I feel we can come together, because when it's one, when it's two, when it's three, there's so much activation, so much exchange, and so much dynamics that I feel every time I leave with a full cup of love and heart to all you beautiful gentlemen. So thank you for all being here.
Thank you, Michael.
I find what's interesting nowadays is, and what's unique with this group is the ability to share in a vulnerable space like this amongst men without the spiritual ego that comes with it. I think far too many at this point in time, and there's no judgment on that. I'm just sharing my experience, and I'm trying to make my experience make sense through your reflections of my comments. And a lot of the tables that I've sat back with, I've had to deeply reflect on what was said, and through that experience, it's made me grown quite a bit. So it isn't, I don't think, for me anyways, and I don't see you guys as this way. I don't see you guys as being having this spiritual ego saying, do this and do that and do this. No, I'm far from it. I think what I've experienced is, here's my experience, and here's what I've learned from it. Let's make sense out of it. And I think that's really, it's this exploration, in this deep exploration, this vulnerable exploration through emotions, primarily through emotions, holding those emotions, feeling those emotions, feeling those emotions. That's where the work is for me anyways.
I'd like to hear from everybody and see how their own journey with their emotions, or what's going on internally, this last little bit since we've been apart and haven't seen each other, reflects on a large scale. Like, as far as what's going on in the planet, how's that shown up in our personal lives? Because I think people listening might get a lot out of what we've done on our own journey and how that relates to them.
I'd love to hear from Akana, though. Akana?
Yeah, just processing that for a moment, seeing what wants to come through. So. Blank right now. Yeah, give me a moment.
Sure.
So I kind of follow what's going on with a lot of people. You can see kind of threads and themes show up on Facebook, right? I'm in many different groups, and unrelated groups will talk about things that's going on with them, or I'm feeling this, or the energy of the world is doing this, the energy of my group is doing this, or energy of my life is doing this. And there's always a correlation between all these different groups. And sometimes it goes on with one certain group and not another, but there's always this correlation that comes on at the same time. And I kind of watch the thread of things when both what I'm feeling and tuning into, and I'll see it reflected on the groups that I'm a part of. So I find that really interesting as a whole. Right now, things are kind of looking pretty crazy on the planet as a whole. And there's a lot of different mixed mindsets on what's going on or what needs to be done. But just like we had talked about before, like everything that's been set up right now has caused us to go inward, right? Has forced us to go inward, because we initially couldn't go out and socialize the way we once did. So we had to come inward in this place of our container, and that broke a lot of people. And it really confused a lot of people. They didn't know what to do with themselves. And for me, it was like this deep cleansing, right? I'm like, okay, well, there's some corners I have to sweep out in my consciousness. And that's what I'm going to do. So I knew that everything that's happening is an opportunity. So that's the way I've been looking at it. For me, like this last little bit, I've gone extremely inward, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to miss anything. I don't want to miss anything that's going on with me. I don't want to miss anything. I want to show up in all I came to be and be able to do all I'm meant to do. And I can't do that if I have anything inside of me that's left, that anything that I'm inside of me that I'm holding back. So that's been my personal journey. And I'm at the place now where I feel like the stepping into my mission in a bigger way, stepping in my purpose in a bigger way, breaking out of this little outer shell of the cocoon, and really going all in on that other aspect. So that's kind of where I've been on my personal journey. But because I've done a lot of inner work, my personal journey, I know, doesn't look like a lot of other people's. You know, there are people right now who are doing the bulk of the work, and it's very intense for them. Well, I've done this like many of you here over the years, like many years. So people who haven't done the work prior to working up to this, for some of them, and they're just waking up to this transformation phase, it can be seen pretty brutal. But I also know that as the way showers, that's our job, is to do the work prior and to hold space for everybody else, to hold space in our hearts, hold space in our light, and hold space in our vision. And there really is a power in perception too. If you look at the world as like being hopeless, if you look at the world as being like this prison or things that are like confining you, then that's what you're going to get in life. And that's, I try and relate this to people by looking at quantum physics. It's the particle or the wave, and it's determined by your intention and your perception. And like Ho'oponopono, it's the same thing. If you look at the world in a certain way, if you look at yourself or another in a certain way, they're going to reflect in a way, in an essence of well, kind of the way you're perceiving them to be. So if you can be the way shower, do your own work, and then start to hold the world in the way that you want to see it, you start to get that reflection more. And the more of us do that, the more of the world it will change. And that was kind of my point earlier, is that's what we're here to do. And that's why every individual matters. Every little piece of light of person coming back into themselves matters. And that's how it matters, because every bit of the way you see the world and hold yourself affects everything around you.
Beautiful, Brandon. I just want to thank you for your sacred words and what has come forward, because I too resonate. 6 months ago, I had the biggest crack within my life, which forced me to go inward, to really allow me to seek and really feel the truth of who I am versus what the truth on the outside world is. And immediately, if 2020 was my volcano of shit that came up, 2021 was the abyss to go in to say, where are these limitations that I haven't cleared yet? Where are the programs and the beliefs that keep creating more suffering? And really sit and watch whatever was coming up within me. I was meeting it, not running away, not trying to put a fancy story to it, but just meet it, because I knew that was not only coming up within me, that was coming up within everything around. So it felt like that choice of coming inward and really allowing myself to sit with it was, as you all know, be the change you want to see in the world within yourself first, and allowing those opportunities to be gifts, allow every trigger to be the treasure that gave me the opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to step away from social media. I'm going to step away from some of the platforms I started so I could just really feel who is me, what is me, in the beginning, who are we? And I feel that gift of detangling, deconstructing, allowing ourselves to pull away from what this personality thinks it is. And really what my mission has been is just to feel deeper into the heart, open my heart up deeper and deeper so that whatever's coming through me, I'm watching, am I accepting it or am I resisting it? And the more that I could see that resistance, the more I could start to see other programs and beliefs that wanted to come up. Because the truth within me these 6 months was I really wanted to feel the fullness of my divine sovereignty. And I had to go through so many levels of anger, disbelief, temper tantrums, shit fits, to the points that it kept coming up that I had to meet. There's no way of running around it, no matter how spiritual or healing or what vocabulary was being brought forward. It really brought the time for me to really sit and really use the divine, the great presence as my focus point to be what was in front of me. And what was in front of me, I feel, are the gifts, as all of us are, our portals, our channels, our beings that are not only clearing within ourselves. I feel there's a great clearing with our ancestry, with our masculine, with our feminine lines. We're also clearing it through the collectively. And so I feel like a lot of us, well, for me, I can only speak, it's been a cosmic car wash of how much cleansing, clearing, releasing, and what I find surprising, revisiting some of the same stories that I thought I've healed, some of the same lessons that I'm like, okay, it still has a pull over me, and then sit with it again to say, okay, I must revisit it and really sit and feel it, because that I feel that is what we're here, not only to feel it, to experience, but to serve from it, to help our fellow brothers and sisters. So that's been my journey of my own kind of in the whole these past 6 months.
I echo that as well, Michael. Those are, I mean, all of you have spoke amazing about that. I really resonate with you. For me, the last 7 to 8 months have been one of desperation and fear and really getting into the abyss and really feeling everything. Before, I wouldn't feel all of it, but as we began to talk, and the words that all of you had said before on the previous table really made me sit and listen and feel everything, to go through what needed to go through. I don't know about any of you guys, but it fucking sucks. It's painful. It isn't pleasant. I didn't want to go through it. It takes, I think I feel incredibly courageous for going through now. Hindsight, had I known that this was going to be the journey, I wouldn't have signed up for that. I wouldn't have said, you know what, let me feel all that pain. Let me feel all that despair. Yeah, sure. Let me sign up. But getting through that right now and talking to some of you and making sense of it really has put me on the other side, where I do feel a lot of hope. I do feel a new earth is being created through the transformation and galvanizations of those emotions. I'm heartened, and for me, I continue opening my heart, regardless of what I feel victimized, and it's a word, I feel victimized of what is happening or has happened to me. My heart continues to be open and surrendering to the divine.
Michael, I think I had a lot of the same as you, is that there's a lot of things that came up that I thought I had cleared before, but I've done that a few times. I'm like, oh, I've done that work. And then here it is again. I'm like, oh, okay. I've had a lot of clients who are like, well, I've healed that. I'm like, let's look at this again. And then touching that little part, and then they break wide open. They start to really feel that place that they thought they healed, and it bursts open in a new way. It touches a new aspect. And so for anybody else listening, like, don't be afraid to revisit things as many times as it takes, because there's so many things connected to every one thing. We've got so many layers, and like looking at it from like the view of a psychic empath, you've got one thing, and other concepts and constructs will always build on and attach to that. So, you know, you start to build your psychology from a very young age, and everything you build from that is what everything else attaches itself to. So when you go back to that, sometimes you have to address these adjacent things over here that you didn't even know that you picked up. And you didn't know that it's still affecting you in a certain way. And there's different layers of the construct. And the deeper you go, the more you realize that you don't have to carry any of it, but you have to get to the point where you give yourself permission to do that. You give yourself the knowledge, the wisdom, the know-how, that deep surrender really is the letting go of all those things. Deep surrender really is, and this is where the Christian concept comes in, that actually is kind of adjacent to this, and where they say it's that the idea of being baptized, you're becoming new again, you're becoming renowned in yourself. They give themselves permission to let go of everything to become somebody completely different. And you don't necessarily have to do it that way, but that's the permission slip that they give themselves through that. So if we give ourselves the same permission slip to become renowned anew without all those other things, and we can become literally anything that we want to be.
Beautifully said, Brandon. My God, it's everything you expressed that comes from such a deep found sense of knowing. But the beautiful thing about it is you can feel the selfless aspect of it. And that's a lot of what many of us who have been doing inner work for a while, we come to this place where we know it's really about our ability to connect to the part of us that's selfless and integrate that into the self, so that we can represent a way of less codependency or dependency on crumbling systems or crumbling relationships that are choosing not to open up to their fullness. And that's like, it's like you said also, like this whole time inside, most people don't know what to do with themselves. And they automatically go into that fear response of like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. Anxiety goes through the roof, depression, all this stuff. Meanwhile, those of us who have maybe done this a little bit longer are looking at this more as an opportunity than a disaster. Oops, did I cut out?
No, you're good.
Okay.
You're good.
So, but like Zisa said, it's not comfortable. Quite often, it's not comfortable at all. It's painful as hell quite often. And when I'm going through it, and believe I've been knocked down and I've gotten up so many times that I'm like, wow, I'm still here. It's still, I'm just like, I pretty much am happy most of the time, even when I get knocked down, because I recognize there's something so much greater than me in and around everything. And I just I'm like, okay, I'm suffering. I'm going to give it over to this frequency in me, because even our suffering and our pain has opposite, equal, and greater frequencies related to it. And sometimes it's like when you go through deep, dark, tough times, you're seeing that contrast because it's trying to show you what's possible, but that you wouldn't have seen if you weren't looking at it and feeling it in its like dire state. So
What's your personal process? And I think this will help other people listening too, to get to the contrast, to get to the other side when you're experiencing the turmoil, when you're experiencing the pain, and you're saying you're giving it over to that other place. What's your experience for doing that to get to the contrast part that you're wishing to experience?
Perfect question. So, before we talked a lot on the other episodes about practicing heart-brain coherence and how important that is. But since this stuff has happened, I was turned on to holotropic breathing. And I had never done breathing like this. Like literally within 15 minutes of just deep, deep breathing, your pineal gland begins to release DMT and you start to feel the energy that is more related to what's causing you to exist. And so I've just been doing this regularly. You know, I feel stuff start to pile up and I'm like, oh my God, lay down and I breathe. And often I feel a resistance in the beginning of like, okay, I don't want to breathe. And that's because I'm not wanting to feel what's holding me back. But when I stay the course and I keep breathing, keep doing it and allow myself to break through that resistance, then what is on the other side is always so life affirming and so empowering that, you know, again, like when you take this kind of personal experience and you break through your own barriers in such a way, and then you look at what the world's going through collectively, you're like, okay, people need to breathe more. They need to get in alignment with the pulse that we all are more, and this won't be as difficult as it currently looks to be and feels to be. So that's how I would say, just simple breathing, really connecting to the breath, breathing, mastering the breath really it's that simple, you know, because when we're in panic or stress, usually we're breathing shallow, as you guys all know. And just being aware of like even inhales, even exhales, you start to just feel better. The homeostasis of your body returns. And then when you're like, okay, that feels great, what's the next level? Then you can go into like a holotropic breathing thing where boom, you just break out of who you think you are and you feel the essence of what is letting you be here. And what can you say, you know, like it's at the end of the day, well, there is no end of the day, but at the end of facing all these things and you break through enough times, I'm like, even with all the pain and suffering, what's the alternative? You know, I'm like, I wouldn't not want to do it. I want to face this stuff. I want to break through. I want to keep doing this work, as painful as it is. So, yeah, that's what I do.
And I just like to add, Seth, that the breath is our life, and it's that tool that we can utilize every single moment that something arises. And I'm just grateful that you brought that, the importance and the energy of the breath, because one thing I've been applying through these 6 months is when there has been an emotion or a feeling that's coming up, I've been taking the breath and I've been meeting it to the highest direct level of acceptance. For example, if I was feeling a day where all of a sudden this guilt or this shame came up.
Michael, can I just cut you off? You sound a little crunchy.
Crunchy?
I
okay.
I think your mic hitting your shirt or something.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you.
You.
So what I've been practicing, and I'm just elated to hear about the breath, is using the breath and then meeting the emotion of the energy that's moving through us. Because we know that emotion's energy, emotion moving through. So everything that's been coming up, what I've done is I've identified the feeling, whether it's been guilt, whether it's been shame, seeing what emotional frequency has been coming up, and then going directly into the breath. And then breathing in and accepting that guilt in that moment. And right then and there, sometimes that acceptance is met by the ego. So of course, if we just breathe and say, I accept you, there may be energies that are preventing because we haven't even started to honor it, respect it, surrender to it, or even just stop and embrace what has been moving through. They're all levels. And the closer we get to that acceptance, the more I feel we're expanding through our breath, which is the universal life gift, chi energy that's moving through. And so each time that there would be, let's just say a battle, a stress or an anxiety, I would first feel into it. I would allow myself to dig to the deepest memory that I could feel that. And then I would start breathing directly into the emotion while thanking it, embracing it, honoring it, celebrating it in a form that I would use my own language, or I would use my own feeling to lessen that energy because I knew that was coming up to be cleared at that moment. And I find when we can use the power of our breath and our intention, and the most important, the feeling that is coming up to fully be accepted, to be seen, because it's now arising to be cleared. And I feel it's, to me personally, I know it's different from everyone, I feel it's one of the fastest processes to say, okay, I have my breath, I have my intention, I have my heart. Now, how can I direct that in a way where I can meet that and embrace it one-on-one without judgment, without labeling it, without calling it good or bad, and just meeting that vibration and then seeing what happens when I can expand my heart and open my love to it. And it's been really starting to like wash away some of these areas that have been quite hidden within, because sometimes we, like you, Brandon, like there's things that we've like buried or things that have come around, and until it comes around and we can fully feel the gratitude and the charge, if it's not pulling us anymore, then it's complete in why it's circling around us. That would just been my personal practice, and I appreciate the tools because I feel the tools are helpful for many of us to apply in our own unique nature. So thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you, brothers. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right. You know what? I'm sitting here just taking in all this good vibration, and I'm thinking to myself, you know, again, just back to the person who asked about us, right? Why is it good, great, wonderful for people to connect with us, to sit in this energy, and for all of us to sit in this energy? And what I'm realizing is we're condensing a lot. We're bringing a lot of wisdom just from our own experiences to speak to things that one might consider, tools that you can use, strategies, and then just the shared experience through our storytelling, which is beneficial. And so, you know, I just wanted to speak to that because I'm grateful for it. And, you know, really happy to be in this vibe and energy. And then also, you know, I was thinking to myself, like, the question that I ask, that's what's changed between me when we were last gathering and right now, that I can consistently am asking myself is, what is it to be here? So I would ask the audience, what is it to be here in a body for you? It's easy to get trapped into what everyone else is telling you it is to be here, why you're here, what you're doing, why incarnate and take on an avatar and a life, and then share a dream with everyone else, right? So I would ask those of you watching, and especially you two, my brothers, which I know you got, I feel like we all asked this question, and maybe some of us have come up with answers and we're still open to new answers with that question. What is it to even be here? This is the biggest question that I ask myself. So when, you know, things are showing up now in my endeavor to feel and to experience, I tend to step back a couple, you know, here's as, okay, what is it as? I'm stepping back a little bit more, having an experience. What is this experience? Why am I even having experiences here? Is it maybe to take that experience in this stage of my gestation, the gestation of my consciousness, and move into the next stage? Maybe it's never ending. And so what I've been really wanting to do is observe what's happening from moment to moment as much as I can, and then see what I can take from that. And because there's cycles, we're on cycle, all of us, right? Men's cycles is something I look to speaking to in our men's groups. Paying attention to the cycle of your life. You get 20, 30 years, 40 years under your belt, you start seeing some things come around again and again. And so how do we start to exercise some wisdom and discernment with the cycles that are occurring so that we can make the best choices, if there's such a thing, for the progression of what we're observing and how we're moving and navigating this whole thing. And this is what I feel like is being spoken to. And also the jewel of being able to come together as men, as brothers who honor each other with dignity, and as well as when we connect with our sisters too. And then just receive, but also, you know, coming into the fullness of who you are because you bring a gift into the totality as well. So what is it to be here would be the question that I ask myself. And that's, I think, something I wanted to share because I feel like so many of the answers, small and large, that I've been coming across have already come through in this conversation in terms of navigating the breath, in terms of feeling what's going on, tools of how to do this, addressing the ego, releasing the ego, being able to sit in certain things that are coming through decidedly, and also for the things that you haven't consciously decided to experience, but it's happening anyways. So what do? You know, you get a tattoo and it hurts. For those of you who've had a tattoo, but there comes a point when maybe you want more tattoos, or maybe the tattoo starts to feel good. What happened in between that space of ouch to this ain't so bad to, oh, here's the next design that I want, you know? And so I see that if there's a fractal existence here, I look at some of the little things that are going on in the day-to-day, and through intimacy or wanting to connect the dots, you know, I see a connection between all of them. And this is just what dawned upon me that I wanted to share. Thank you, brothers, for everything that you've shared.
Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you, Ezra. Can I say something on the answer to the question as well? Like you, Ezra, I'm just in awe of the men's answers here. I just feel so connected with you all as you give me this wisdom and knowledge. I'm thinking, like, this is a workshop I'd probably pay, you know, $1,500, $2,000 to go hear you guys speak, because these answers and this purified wisdom is so dear and so valuable. And so I want to thank you all. Everything that you said, Michael and Seth and Jesus, and it's Brendan, it was beautiful stuff. And Brendan asked the question, which I think is fabulous. Okay, once the stuff comes up, once your volcano is there, what's your process? And you all touched on the process. And I think it's so beautiful that you touched on the ego part of the process. And you touched on, first of all, actually acknowledging what that feeling really is, not sugarcoating it, not pretending it's something different than what it is, but actually acknowledging what it really is. And so for me, this past 6 months, the thing that I've seen more than anything is separation. I've seen the news separating us. I've seen politicians trying to separate us. I've seen medical situations trying to separate us all. And it breaks my heart to hear people that at one time were in full agreement with each other, very, very close to agreement. Now we're very separated over these issues that seem to be on the forefront of everybody's speech nowadays. And so for me, that meant going inside and looking at my own separation, looking at my own, what part of David is separated from a different part of David, and bring them together. And how do you do that in a divine masculine way? Well, that's bringing in the divine feminine, bringing them together in harmony, acknowledging what it is that I'm seeing in separation. Michael, you said it brilliantly. Rejoice in it. Be happy with it. I like to dance with it, have fun with it, and then thank it very much for its service it's been to me, that separation that served me so well, and then be able to release it and then forgive it. And at that point, I feel like I've surrendered. And that's the process that I've been going through the last 6 months. And not to take up too much of your all time, but there's something it's come up for me in this gathering today. I've been asked to look at the last 6 months, and in the past 6 months, I've had a couple of life-changing events, but when we first started talking, it wasn't even on my mind. One of them is my father passed. And as I'm listening to you all, I'm thinking, is there something in me that's really not authentic? Is there something in me that's not feeling? Because I don't feel sad at all. And I think part of that is I don't believe in death. I don't believe in the death of the spirit. And so it's almost kind of humorous to me that my father now is in a very beautiful place, whereas he was suffering before. But I just wanted to put that out to you all, that do you feel or see something in me that maybe I am hiding, or I'm not being authentic because I'm not really mourning my father's death at all. I just wanted to put that out there.
For myself, David, I've always seen you as I see all the men here stepping into deeper awarenesses and deeper levels of authenticity. And I think through our love and support for each other, cajoling to get deeper and deeper into that. I'm really happy to hear some of the wisdom that's come out of each and every one of you. And it does feel like a full circle for me around, Brendan speaks his wisdom, but it's at a deeper level. Michael, just that it's incredible just to listen to you right now and the wisdom that you're bringing forth and the integration. As always, you're full of heart and spirit, and Seth, it's an inspiration to listen to you as well. So collectively, and Harry, and I know we haven't heard from Akana yet, but I'm rejoicing in our collective circle, and I do want to speak to the unity aspect of it. I think there's so much work being done, splintering every aspect of our day-to-day, our lives, and the conscious choice that we make to say, is this within unity conscious? Is this something that I want? Is this something that I want to create? And to be a conscious creator of that unity conscious. It starts with you, starts with me, starts with all of us. And the more we decide to go into that unity consciousness, then all of that is collectively within that morphogenic field and available for the rest of humanity.
Beautiful.
I went with what you just said, Zeus. I think you touched on something that, and David, like speaking to the separation, right? Like it's on the forefront of everybody's awareness and everything that's happening. And unity, the concept and the word, the lingual root of it is related to immunity and community, right? So my friend up here, Chris Northrup, says community equals immunity. And so we've been having these regular gatherings of people getting together and just sharing and being happy. And wow, we feel good being together. We're not distancing from one another. We're doing the opposite. We're opening up, we're trusting, we're embracing each other. And my goodness, our health is enhanced by it. So when people get out of these fear-based states, then we find that we actually want this unity, immunity, community. And creating a new, healthier, better world really has a lot to do with our willingness as individuals to come together with others who we may not be of exact like minds, but we have way more in common than we do apart. And I think you could say that for the species in general, our whole species, we have way more in common than we do apart. And so where's this idea of separation coming from? Because I don't feel it. I feel like I just want to connect to everybody more and get everybody together. And so when I hear people who are like, oh, it's like this, it's like that, I'm like, really? Last I checked, the more I know, the less I have any idea of any of these things that are being projected, but I can feel something that I know is life affirming and beneficial for health and wellness and bringing each other together. Oh, wait. So, yes, hold on. Anyway, somebody take it over. I noticed my thing is cloudy here, so you have to excuse my rudeness. I'm just going to clean my camera with my shirt.
Brothers, can you hear me?
Yeah.
I'll be quick. I just wanted to address, I felt was a potent question and also really beautiful, like just opening the heart to something like this that David just mentioned about his father passing. And then, just speaking to, David, personally, I don't feel like it's wrong for any of the feelings that come up in a person to arise when someone they're connected to transitions versus saying passing. You've been working with consciousness for a long time, as all of us have, because we're consciousness, but how we perceive what it is for someone to transition is an individual thing. And maybe some of us don't perceive transitioning as a bad thing if someone has been suffering. It still may feel a certain way. And a lot of what I've observed when, my family members, or even when my mother died, is the projection of feelings that have to do with remorse or a reflection on someone's own life. Death kind of makes you aware of your own mortality, so to say. It makes you aware of what's going on. So if you spend time with someone and you're being present with them and you know what's going on in their heart and they've expressed themselves and you cherish all the moments that you spend with them, and then they decide to transition, or life transitions them, or they transition, however, and you don't feel like anything's been lost, but maybe even gained, then it can become a celebration of the life that they had and not any type of inauthenticity just because you may not be having the same reaction as everyone else. You're individual. We honor you for that and love you for that. And, you know, honoring your father and the journey that he's had that you know more intimately than all of us and that you got to witness. Just like in a relationship, if you're really present with someone, you may miss them when they're not around you. But if you really soaked in everything that was going on in those moments, the missing is just a beautiful appreciation versus a longing for something that you didn't take advantage of, or like a remorse because damn, I should have been this way with that person and now they're gone, you know? And so I don't think anything's wrong with any of them, but I'm honored that you would even ask our opinion on what's going on with you, because there's a lot of people who are losing people right now. And so how do we deal with those feelings, and how do we accept what's coming up and not make it have to be the status quo, but at least be able to be safe around each other to say, hey, I'm feeling this, or I don't feel like I'm feeling that, but this is going on. You guys still got my back? You still support me? What are your thoughts on it? And so thank you. And I just wanted to speak to that directly because you brought it up, and, you know, just honor you in that. And these are my thoughts on it. I don't feel like you're inauthentic in any way because you're speaking to what's actually happening within you. And if there are things that come up, you know, along this path that are related to that, you have about 9 brothers at least, you know, who are open to sit with you. I've lost a parent, or I've experienced the transition of my mother, and I have a different relationship with them, you know. And it's been a journey. So just honoring your journey and your father's journey, and you bringing that up in this group, and sending you love, and sending him and his essence love as well. Yeah.
Thank you, Wes. Appreciate that.
Yeah,
for sure.
Thank you, Azariah, for speaking to that. I was very moved by David's question as well, and not having any perspective on you personally, David, given this is our first meeting, and an electric one at that. It brought to mind my one real experience with grief, though that I've lost those I like your reframing, Azariah. Though some grandparents of mine have passed, my real true grieving experience has been with my dog. And I haven't really known much about grief. I've always felt uncomfortable when people around me have lost people. Like, I've never quite known how to show up for them. I've never quite known what was appropriate. I've never quite known what and I felt a bit of shame sometimes around, like, geez, should I have sent flowers? Should I have been calling more or less? So I'm far from an expert on that. My personal experience with this bit of grief was that it was non-linear, that it had its own wisdom and path that wasn't even remotely foreseen by me. It was, I felt very prepared for the passing of this animal, but in the actual moment of it, not at all prepared for that incident. And I felt fine. Then it was 8 months later that the grief process really began. And so perhaps it's really something that will continue to reveal itself. And I too am humbled by your, even the inquiry about, are you being inauthentic, is inspiring to me to continue to just check in. And I love that inquiry of going, just checking in and going, how does this appear for you right now? And to the reflections, the people you feel safe with. So thank you for offering that. And in the thought about it, it occurred to me that perhaps grief and our grief process is not just a individual experience. Perhaps it's something that occurs between us and the individual or the pet or the soul that was lost. Maybe there's actually an experience that continues on that they're a part of as well, and that communication continues, and the energy and the emotion or whatever needs to come up comes up at an appropriate time, at the right time, at a time that really is divine. So that's my thoughts around that. There's so many beautiful gifts that have been offered by you gentlemen, and identifying these themes of purification and cleansing and spiral. Things coming around again, and when they come around again, they're coming around a bit differently, and we think we're kind of clear of it, and they're coming around a bit differently. And really loving these heart, and that we're sharing in our collective navigation of these things over the last year and a half. And as I've shared a lot of them, also sharing in breath as being a key tool in moving through the intensity, the learning around what is an emotional charge, why our experience is coming up through other people within us. What is that energy and what do we do with it? Michael, you said, for example, that the charge is coming up to be cleared. And one of the refinements that I've started to make is it's coming up, that the feelings are coming up to be felt. Even simply that. For me, as living a lot of my life thinking, I'm not enough, I'm inadequate as I am, and I need to get a lot better at this, and I need to be really perfect at a whole bunch of things. It's like, okay, I got to clear this trauma, and I get rid of this charge. For me personally, the idea of, I got to clear this when it comes up, it was yet another thing, another way in which I was affirming for myself that I wasn't enough as I am. So now I'm coming along with the perspective, which is like, you're here and I'm just going to feel you. And you'll stay as long as you want, and you will either remain or you won't. You'll come back or you'll go. But all I need to do right now is just feel, which has been such a huge theme for what everyone has said about being able to, the opportunity to just feel what we're feeling. I've taken some breathwork facilitation workshops over the last year and a half. And one of the gifts from that too was, from one of the teachers, was, you are welcome here. You spoke about the different emotions and acknowledging their presence and recognizing them. And this invitation of like, whatever is arising, you are welcome here. And I think when we talk about unity, we want to gift that to everyone in our lives. You are welcome here. Your perspective is welcome here. And to me, starting within and going, this perspective within myself, you are welcome here. This contradiction within myself, you are welcome here. And one of the things that prevents unity externally is when we really aren't right with some aspect of ourselves. And it's the minute that that's reflected back to us, we're like, no, not you. You're showing me the thing within myself that I hate. So to me, what I've been gifted with now is coming back to myself, is going, what is within this field that I don't want to look at, that I am afraid of seeing, that is not welcome here, but actually allowing it to become part of my field and unifying this. And in that, it feels like unity on the external is just a natural byproduct, because I have no need to resist anyone or anything else that may be coming by when I know that I'm unified from top to bottom within. So there's more that I want to share. There's just so many amazing things that have popped up from all of you, but I thank you for all of that and for the opportunity to share that. Oh, I will mention, as far as tools, I don't know, has anyone experienced the Presence Process as a book? So what an elegant distillation of this phenomenon of charge and emotion that is within our system and brings itself to awareness in order to be cleared or felt. And one thing that in conjunction with that's really served me is a guy named Peter Crone. He's got a lot of great podcasts and stuff, The Mind Architect, right? And his kind of catch quote is, the universe will continue to provide you with the people and the circumstances that will reveal to you the ways in which you are not free. And so I've been feeling a ton of that. This is to circle back to one of Brandon's earlier questions in terms of how has it been.
Mm-hmm.
My experience has been extremely external over the last few months of just like this person, this circumstance coming up. It's like, wow, I'm being provided with threshold after threshold opportunity to move through that into an actual freer place. And when I think about why that's happening, why we're going through these purifications, all of us, these themes of the spiral things coming around, things to be cleared, is because I think probably, to answer why are we here, we're likely moving forward into an environment where the divine masculine is very much going to be needed. And perhaps this process really is for each of us, moving us as much as it can into a place where we will be available for anyone who needs whatever expression of the divine masculine is coming through each of us. It was reflected to me about a week and a half ago that the divine masculine can be thought of as the sun. Just this stable, constant source of light and warmth and life. And what an opportunity that would be, through this experience, to both sharing with you and in these purification processes that we're going through, to be more of that to whoever is within our light. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was really touching, Harry. That really resonated with me. And looking at everyone else, I think it resonated with everybody else as well.
Thank you, Harry.
So much truth in that wisdom.
Hey, David, I wanted to touch on what you shared too. I agree 100% with what Ez said. My stepfather passed recently as well, and having had him pass, I didn't go through a huge grieving process because he too was suffering, and so he was mentally suffering, he was emotionally suffering, his health was failing, and tuning into him, being like the psychic empath, I could feel the weight lifted off him when he leaves. And I was there with my aunt passed too, and I actually was there in the room when I felt her spirit left her body. And in that moment, I broke down crying. I was really emotional through the process, but it was just because I was feeling the emotions and the beauty of the moment. But I didn't walk away and start grieving the situation. And even I was there leading up to the moment that she passed, and I was helping her release her fears and her worries and some of her karma that she had in this life. I was helping her do everything that I could to help get her ready to go. But then walking away after all that was complete, I didn't go through a whole lot of grieving because I know what awaits them on the other side. I know that they're stepping into a place of back into their wholeness. I know that they're stepping away from this experience and into another. And I know from other people sharing their past, their near-death experience. I know from my own experiencing the life after life, that in hypnotic regression, I had a bunch of souls come and hug me, and I didn't cognitively know who they were, but I knew who they were from my heart. And they surrounded me in celebration of our reunion in that moment. And it was so beautiful, it made me cry. And that's what awaits everybody who leaves. That's what awaits everybody who leaves this experience, and because it's a returning for them. And for them, leaving from that place to this, it's a little bit different experience, but in the grand scheme of things, we're both places at the same time, right? But there's a part of us that gets to experience that return, that reunion when we go back. So I don't mourn when people pass, but that doesn't also mean that I don't miss them. I might miss their presence. I might miss the familiarity. I might miss being able to pop in and say hi. Okay, I don't have that the same way, but now I can talk to my stepfather, and I could on some level before, but I could still talk to him just by my intuitive abilities whenever I want. So that's never gone, and I know that. And I think for me, that's also why, and all those things together, that's also why I don't go through that same grieving process, because I don't fear death. I don't look at this life the same as a lot of people. So I don't think that you're any other way than you're right where you need to be with your emotional feelings and the way you are perceiving and the way you are experiencing that situation, because I experience it in a similar way. And I think it's just because of our knowings and our experience and just how we understand this life that we're living, this experience called life. The other things that was said as far as being present with the emotions, in every single modality, in every single thing that I've ever researched and come across, that has always been a key component. And there has been a woman, I wish I could remember her name, but she was a doctor, and she studied over 1,700 cases of miracle recoveries, miracle medical recoveries. And surrendering or being part of a higher presence, and in that, there's always this acceptance and allowance of whatever is there. So there's always key components of no matter what it is, that's always present, is being present with your emotions, being present and accepting and allowing of whatever's going on. And I know there's so many times where I'm sitting with somebody and I'm tuning into them and I'm saying, I'm feeling this right here. It feels like this. And when the person's all on board, us just holding that space together, I can feel it melt away. And all they have to do so much of the time is just acknowledge what's there. You've got childhood traumas and pains and whatnot. And so many times they're taught to shove it away and push it down. And all they have to do is sit with it and acknowledge that part that has not yet been seen or allowed to be seen. And when they fully come into acceptance of that, it can finally give way. And that key right there is allowing that thing to be present and fully witnessed is also a key that we can use on a larger scale. We can use that little key right there in our manifesting in our life and in the world at large. So one of the things I've been noticing is that every single thought you have manifests in some form or way, right? Every single thing that has come about in your life has been put there by some part of your consciousness. And so when I think about that, I think about the way I interact or the way I respond mentally in my own life. And an example of this that I've witnessed recently is that the current mandates that are being out there, I found myself at one time, I'm like, I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm really just kind of done with that right now. And I went about and interacted with the world at large, and I was not bothered one single bit by anybody. And I came across some other information and I found myself being frustrated inside, frustrated, a little angry, a little off-put by the mandate. And then when I went out and about in the world, because I had interacted in that way, I noticed people started interacting with me in a different way. They started verbalizing something in a different way. And I looked at these two scenarios and the contrast is clear. And it was what I was holding on inside of me. And somebody who may be looking at that as the outsider going, okay, I'm skeptical because that can just be circumstantial. That can be coincidence. But when you see this and you witness this over and over and over and enough times, you begin to understand the truth, the reality, and the depth of that. And then when you begin to understand those things and weave them together, the next thought for me comes in, well, and what greater way can I utilize this and realize this to be true? And there's a similar process to this witnessing and allowing that somebody named Amelia Binns, I don't know how many of you are familiar with her, but she uses this process in a similar way when she encourages everybody to put everything out in front of them, everything that they're going on, whether it be a person, place, thing, situation, hold that vision, visualization, the image, the feeling of whatever it is in front of you, and then feel all of creation, all of the universe come around and witness this thing with you. And as you're witnessing it, you'll begin to see it melt away, feel it transform, you'll witness it transform in whatever way possible. And there's a similarity here between this process that I just mentioned to the surrender process, because you're surrendering it over to this higher power and allowing that to take over and transform it into whatever highest component it will be. You're giving it over and say, make this into something great. I don't want to carry this, make this into something great. So you can do the same process you do on the small self, your individual self, as on the collective self. So when you do that, you'll notice that your individual interaction with reality changes. But then you can also think of it from transitioning from timelines, from parallel reality to parallel reality. I'm going to do this on whatever scale I'm involved in. I'm going to do the Ho'oponopono and take responsibility and transform everything that I am involved in, because everything is a part of my own creation, because every thought that I've ever had contributed to the experience that I've had.
Aho.
More nuggets.
Thank you. Very well said.
And that was incredible, Brendan.
Thank you.
All I would, if I were to add anything about the healing process for me, it's always been, you spoke so eloquently about acceptance and witnessing. I think that's incredible part. That's the first step for me. The second part is forgiveness. That part of forgiving oneself and forgiving others for whatever experience that you both shared. And then the third part, the reinstitution, or to make things as once were, if possible, because sometimes it's not possible, right? So those three things, and there's so much more to speak to them individually, but yeah, beautifully said though.
And what I really appreciate about this platform, about each of you gentlemen and those that are witnessing it right now, is I feel we all have a call of duty in our true authenticity to express the fullness of the feelings that move through us.
Right.
And the beauty of what's happening here is a demonstration that men can express their emotions. They can feel each and everything that comes through them. And part of our healing process, at least for my own battles or the conquerings and just moving through, is to meet with each emotion, to meet with each feeling. You say it so elegantly, Seth, through the mind, coherence, and I won't even take the words, the depths that you've gone through within the body and the relationships of the organs and the emotions and the muscles. It's the simplicity of us truly feeling, expressing, and allowing what comes through us that gives others to do the same. And I feel the more that we can communicate this in a free, graceful, however unique way that we like to share our joy and happiness behind us, can really help inspire many men be the fullness of who they are. Because, like it or not, we've known that the emotional body has been suppressed by the mental body. As much as this beautiful mind is, when the heart is closed, the mind is closed. And I feel what's been a beautiful journey is to keep opening the heart to the greatest fears that come to our plate. I feel you, David. When my dad, 3 years ago, went to the other side, there was a celebration. And I feel there's a duty that for us that know that death is a celebration. It's the beginning. It's an opportunity for all of us to move through where we're showing and we're feeling and we're allowing others to see that we can move through all that's happening before us. So a lot of these things that I feel are coming up for us, for the collective, and just the heaviness is the gift that we get to feel these emotions. We get to develop relationships with these emotions. We get to, you said it's so beautiful, Brandon, these emotions are here to be seen, to be accepted. And I feel that part of that expands us to higher vibrations that only opens up the multidimensional reality that's before us right now. So I congratulate all you beautiful gentlemen of just expressing what you feel, because it gives more courage, more strength, more power for all those around us to keep allowing us to be who we are. And I truly feel there's more than we can actually fully know what we are, because we're that much more of light, that much more of love. And now we're expressing it in this reality where we're co-creating with so many opportunities around us. So it's beautiful to be in this container where we can express the fullness and allow that to be heard. Because when others feel that, I hope to believe that inspires other men, other women, other beings, other genres and sexualities. They can express the fullness of who they are, because the more that we're expressing, isn't it true, the more we're creating our own freedom. And that freedom is here to fully be planted right now, that I feel that all of us are doing a great job. So thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you.
Can I indulge in telling you guys a story. Would that be okay? I feel like it's a perfect time for a story.
Do it.
Akana, do
Talk
you?
story, buddy. I love it.
Yeah, Akana, do you want to speak to? Okay, let me just tell the story.
No, go ahead. Tell your story. No, I'm happy to. I'm also happy to. Yeah, tell your story.
Once there was a very poor man, and he came to Buddha and he asked, "Why am I so poor?" And Buddha answered, "You are poor because you don't practice generosity. You don't practice charity. But how can I practice charity if I don't have anything to give?" And Buddha says you have 5 treasures that you can share with the others. First, you have your face. You can share your smiles with others. It's free and it's awesome. And it has an amazing impact on others. Second, you have your eyes. You can look at others with eyes full of love and care. Genuinely, you can impact millions, make them feel so good. Third, you have your mouth. With this mouth, you can say nice things to others, talk good, make them feel valued, spread joy and positivity. Then you have your heart. And with your loving heart, you can wish happiness to others, make others feel a bundle of emotions, touch their lives. Last treasure that you possess is your body. With this body, you can do many good things to others. Help the people who need it. That's the story.
Love it.
That level of simplicity that really is kind of this reprioritization of focus that many of us feel is required and called of us now during these times. So yeah, thank you for sharing that.
We tend to overcomplicate things as human beings. We tend to feel like if it isn't complex, then it isn't of value. And, Seth, your heart-mind coherence is a very simple thing. It's being aware of your heart. It's breathing a little deeper and slower than usual. And then it's reintegrating an emotion, a positive emotion into your beingness. It's a very simple thing that all of us can do every single day. But yet we are challenged as human beings to overcomplicate and make things more complex than needed. We're moving at light speed, and thank God, because of the pandemic, we are forced to slow down. That pace of slowing down is simplicity. We are fastly realizing we have become volunteer slaves within this 3D reality. And I don't know about you, I've checked out. So there's a lot there to be said.
Powerful, Jesus. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
And also for Brandon, just honoring, your stepfather's passing and your family and you, brother.
Oh, thank you.
His transition, I should say, transitioning.
Transition.
I was just thinking about something that, I take notes in these gatherings because there's too many jewels getting dropped here. And that's also like, I feel like I'm receiving. So Harry said something really beautiful that I think is a theme that keeps coming up. That's also connected to Ho'oponopono in a way, but just a simple statement in terms of your feelings or anything that's showing up in our experience. He says, "You are here and I'm just going to feel you," period. With some level of acceptance. And that's a lesson that I feel like I received in Vipassana. That's been a gift that just keeps on giving. And I just wanted to mention it and say thank you. Thank you, Harry, for speaking those words in that way. And I'm gonna mute myself now. Love you guys.
It's incredible what can happen when you have the freedom to be authentic, freedom to give from your heart, freedom that you are not, in your mind, but more into your heart and being of service by just being you. That's the beauty. We all are a gift. It's just understanding that and empowering ourselves into that. because we could all be our own worst critics. That moment of journey, as you begin to unpack more and more awareness, it's a gift and a curse at the same time. There's an awareness. And, I don't know about you guys, but I struggle with that awareness. Is this real? Am I imagining things? Right? And it's only through that experience of playing with that awareness, then do you begin to get confident in that awareness, I guess is really what I'm trying to say.
I think everybody in their development at some time, especially when they're developing like psychic skills or whatnot, begins to look at this thing that they're experiencing and go, is this real?
Right.
And anybody who's been on that track and has been doing that consciously, questioning whether it's real or not, and I'm sure all you brothers can attest to this, is that whenever you just let yourself go, okay, I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm just gonna spit it out. This is the crazy shit I'm seeing. What do you think? And they go, oh yeah. I totally know what you're saying. It's da-da-da-da-da-da. And you're like, oh, good, because I was clueless. I was clueless what that was, but there it is. So the more, and I find that the more I play with my own gifts, the more I allow myself to kind of experiment and just play with that childlike mind, the more stuff happens, the more can express through me. So I let everything be possibly real. And I let everything also be possibly not real. And I let that paradox exist. And because I do that, I can get to the truth of the matter. Because I do that, I don't hold on to anything that's going on inside of me as far as what my thoughts are, what I believe to be true, because I can hold them up and go, okay, show me what's, if anything, more is behind whatever this thing I'm thinking is, whatever this thing I'm feeling is. Show me what's more behind this. And so sometimes I get some visualizations that won't make any sense. Sometimes I get a feeling, and sometimes some of the things break apart in a different way that I didn't expect. I'm like, well, I'm like, blah, blah, blah. And I have a story on something, and I hold this story up. Is this true? And I begin to witness this story. And sometimes the story crumbles. Sometimes the story breaks into pieces. And sometimes there's a part of that story that gets brighter and more vivid. And sometimes it gets more defined, and there's more pieces there that I didn't see. And one of the keys to doing that is exactly what you brothers have been saying, is heart, brain coherence. And if you're listening or reading any of the Law of One material, when they say the heart and mind are unified, that's when you have access to infinite intelligence. And they've done scientific studies where heart-brain coherence dramatically increases your intuition, your access to your own intuition, because you're calming the signals in the brain in a way that you're opening up the heart at the same time. When the two are in coherence, when the two are speaking together, that's when the universe, the wisdom of the universe, can flow through you.
Beautiful.
In fact, Brendan, HeartMath has done a lot of research since 1993. They've got over 350 peer-reviewed papers. They've worked with military, and they've worked with a lot of sectors and they also have the Global Coherence Project, which they've hallmarked incredible pivotal points in humanity's history, like the 9/11, and how everyone rallying together under a human emotion, love, compassion, has actually increased the global coherence field. So practicing more of that and understanding, and really, I encourage each and everyone watching to research more about the heart-brain coherence. Certainly go into HeartMath and look into that, or get in touch with a HeartMath trainer or a coach, or even there's a lot of YouTube videos. I mean, that's pretty straightforward. We all do our own work respective to that in our own way. And that's a simple work to do, more or less. We're approaching up to 5 o'clock, which is usually 2-hour mark. Let's have one more round as we close. would like to go first?
I'll share. Yeah, I haven't spoken much, but that's cool with you guys. Yeah, just in a space. I trained with a man named William Esper. He's or his studio rather, briefly with him, but mostly with his other teachers, with an acting technique called Meisner. And one of the things I struggled with, as well as struggled with teaching as well, was something called moments of silence. Not so much meditation as something a little different, but it's, yeah, one of the things he would always say is, if nothing's happening, just wait, because something always will. And just allowing ourselves to feel enough to identify that moment, the emotion that moves us, rather than us moving it or trying to move it. So yeah, I've just kind of honestly been in a space of, I don't give a fucking rat's ass about anything. And because nothing seems to really matter in this context of the certain reality that I'm seeing, nothing I believed in before matters anymore. Yeah, just like, what does matter? What the hell am I doing here? What's the point of anything? Why does anything matter? Yeah, just because I don't see anything as any less divine than anything else. Like I need to get anywhere or do anything, and at the same time want to, and just feel like, yeah, just the acknowledgement and loving what we're doing and creating at the same time, and just like, well, what is the fucking point? Yeah, and what is keeping us a prisoner? And so, yeah, kind of getting to a fuck it stage and saying, well, what does my soul want to do that it wasn't giving itself permission to before? So yeah, I'll just take one more minute. I just feel like life is reallocating. It's like stripping away everything that I cared about or I thought mattered. And regardless of how like profound I thought my processes were, and humbly so, like I really feel like I've just been like, probably more out of fear than anything else, like keeping everything under wraps and just feeling like, yeah, like, well, these things are really effective, but does it really fucking matter? Like effective for what? Is it just my lens? Is it my creation? But it just feels like the only reason we're here is to write love stories and to create and make our dreams real, to expand the human construct and understanding what it is to be human, and also which is to be expression of God in my mind, through human form, and that we can do anything, absolutely anything. And so as we allow ourselves to do so, and create our dreams, we expand into what we thought was not possible and becomes possible. Through the allowance of emotions, which I feel like are just old stories that are magnets that are pulling pieces of our heart to allow it to be expressed, to be felt, to be realized in this lifetime that is trapped in other timelines, through other dimensions and times and space, trying to reallocate back to now, because the heart always has permission to express the truth, no matter what emotion it is, because they're all fucking perfect. So just get fucking real and speak your truth, like whatever the fuck it is, without without edit. So yeah, I'm just in that space, kind of taking things in and waiting, just listening and being in the space. And I have no fucking clue what I'm doing, but right now I'm just waiting. And how my process, how to transfer something to love and whatever you want to call it in these processes. But I'm about to get on a fucking bike with no money, no shelter, just a backpack, and go cross country, no GPS, and just see where the fuck it takes me, and just start to see like, yeah, I just want to strip away everything that I realize I've been a prisoner to, whether it's money, and not in a bad way, just saying, well, what is determined the way I live? Money or food or shelter or other people telling me what to do and what not to do, and these processes. And like, what if you just throw yourself into the mystery every day of a construct where you don't know, you have no fucking clue what's going to happen, and you just say yes to everything and see where it takes you. So that's just where I'm at in terms of the soul, and just allowing everything to be felt. And just, big advocate, just allow everything, because we're designed to feel more than anything else, because that inspires our behavior, our creations, our desires, and dreams are desires, following desires. I'm just waiting, because right now I don't desire shit except to get on a fucking bike and just like see spirit. And love you all.
You big love. Kind of good to hear your voice and feel your energy. Can you brothers hear me? I'll just make it short. Were you recently in Tulum, by the way? Out of curiosity, did you ever eat at Raw Love while you were there?
Yeah, I think I was there once.
So I was just talking to the owner of Raw Love before heading to the States, and he did just what you're talking about doing. You know, it's been in my mind, something like that, dropping everything and hopping on a bike, which takes a lot of prep for some, you know, but doing that. So I just send in love and support as you go on this journey, and for the authenticity of what you just shared, where you're at, you know.
Thanks. Appreciate
Thank you. Thank you, brother. Aloha.
Aloha.
What's the saying? And the saying comes up as the deepest, the most treasures that you want or you need or are there for you is the darkest part of the cave, and that's where you have to go. And all of us, to some degree, I can only speak for myself, have gone into that cave and seen the transformation on the other side. And a lot of it has been this fear of what is on the other side. What is on the other side? What can I expect? Right? That's the journey. And in fact, for me, it's been the magic. So letting go and surrendering, everything that everyone has spoken to, you know, it's the experience.
Definitely magic in the unknown. And that's part of my own process, is letting go of what I think may happen or expect to happen, and everything that I'm pushing. You know, like, you know what, if I'm trying to control all the steps, I'm not going to move forward in the way that I need to. I need to be comfortable with the unknown. I need to move just open. And man, Akana, that's amazing. And I don't know if I could do that, but man, blessings to you, brother. I want to hear how that goes for you. You know, I want you to keep us updated on that. I don't know that I can.
You know.
Yeah.
I'll drop by your house and let you know if you're going through Portland. So
sweet. Yeah, please do. Please do.
Akana, I'm always here. If you ever want to reach out, I'm always here. As whatever we are going through, I'm always here. And to all of you, as you know.
Thank you. Yeah. In closing, I appreciate everything that everybody has shared, and you know, there's so many layers and levels and everything that we're giving voice to. Wow, sorry, I don't know why. For some reason, when I talk, my screen gets blurry, but maybe I'm buzzing out of reality too. Hopefully. Just in closing, for people who are like, okay, because I know exactly what Akana is saying. I've lived much of my life in that, like, does it matter? And of course, obviously, like, everything is within this divine container anyway, including all the distractions and noise and chaos and everything. So it's really not anything to get too worked up about, right? And we have a tendency, me anyway, I'll speak for myself, I used to have a tendency to start creating neuroses that would make me ill. It would make me feel not well and sick and all that. And I just got to a point of like, okay, I'd rather feel balanced and well than not. But in order to feel well, it took generating energy. You know, I had to get up and make something happen. But then also it's just like exercise, right? In that you go in, you do a hard workout, but then the real growth happens in the rest. So it's knowing how to put in the exertion, generate the energy you want to create, and then sit back and just let it be exactly what it's going to be. And it's in those periods of just total rest and not even attachment or desire or anything that things begin to really unfold and show themselves in a way that is beneficial for continuing to grow, you know. So I'd like that, I want to say. And also, Z, what you said about the Heart Math Institute, I feel like for those who are listening, if you don't know about Heart Math, it's something that is so worth looking into. You know, for me, having been in prison, severe drug addiction, I mean, and just endless problems and so many hardcore things that happened, that when they happened, it seemed like I would never get over it. But I eventually did. It was through Heart Brain Coherence. So, you know, at a time when everything is just coming to this like grinding, that is a tool, a simple tool that works times infinity. So, and then thank you to see everybody again and come here and do this with you guys live.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you all, gentlemen. That was beautiful, Seth. There's a theme that I feel happening within here, within the collective, and it truly just brings heart of just the art of letting go. And personally, the more of the letting go of the I don't know and accepting more of the I don't know opens up the magic and the mystified elements of life, because I really feel we don't live life, life lives us. Yeah. And the more that we can just be present and just enjoy and bring forth our hearts, our ambitions, our passions, and what we're doing right now, the best that we can each and every day. And then, you know, we got this. I feel each of us have brought forth just nuggets of beautiful wisdom, and just grateful to be amongst all you beautiful gentlemen and all the people that are supporting. Thank you, Seth, and thank you for this platform to what I believe is just the true change. And it's the love. It's the love of our hearts that we just keep vibrating. And the more that we can vibrate that heart higher and higher and higher, then we're moving forward. And that's all that we can do right now.
You know, just also to thank you for saying all that, Michael, but I want to thank Laura Eisenhower publicly for letting us do this on here.
Yeah. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
All right. We'll see you guys in 3 weeks.
All right.
Love you guys. Thank you.
I love every one of you.
Great connect with all of you.
Want to keep me updated too.
Yeah.
Well, Con, I did want to say, if you come down to Phoenix, there's a place of refuge for you here as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm probably going to do daily updates on some form of media somewhere. There's rules and structures. So, and one of them is, post every day as long as I have internet connection. So
Very cool.
I don't know where I'm going or how I'm getting there. I just know I'm getting to the coast and then up to Banff. So I'll keep you all updated.
Beautiful.
Perfect.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
And welcome, Harry.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Nice to meet you, Harry.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Welcome.
You're welcome.
All right.
All right, brother. Take care. Aloha.
Love you. Thank you all. Love you.